Here we are with the Friday vlog, and I've just got to start because I'm too excited with the big news. So the big news is, after 4 weeks, and just congratulations to all sorts of people, there we are with over 1,500 flu vaccinations completed. What a remarkable achievement. So we are halfway to Project 3000. You will have worked out that we're on a 15-week program, and in 4 weeks, we're halfway there. Thank you so much if you've had your flu vaccination. Thank you so much if you've booked your flu vaccination for clinics in the next few weeks. And of course, thank you to the many and varied people who've lent into this process. We are leading the NHS at the moment, but that isn't what's important. What's important is the health protection we're offering our patients, our colleagues, and our loved ones. Got to be honest with you, we've got some pockets where the levels of flu vaccination are low, and I'll be spending some time next week, Steve Forsyth and Carleen Holden, looking at whether we need to introduce some mandatory PPE or even look at a bit of redeployment. But let's not let that sour the celebration today, but please let it encourage everybody to make your flu vaccination choice and get your flu vaccination over coming weeks, because this is a race. The faster we get there, the more protection we're able to go into this winter with. It just shows you what we can do. Now, my plan for the rest of this vlog, you may never have been speed dating, but it's to go really, really quickly through all of our 28 promises, because I want you to see the depth and scale of what is going on, but I also want to be honest with you where there's a promise that we're not taking forward at pace right now, because you can't do everything all at once everywhere. That won't work. So here we go. Settle back, get your Doritos, and we're ready to go. So here we are. The first group of promises are all about whose voice we listen to inside this organisation. We deliberately wanted to tilt that balance and make sure that we heard from some different people, particularly patients and carers in our organisation. So we made a great start with Promise 1. We're looking to have peer support workers everywhere. £500,000 committed to bring peer support workers into many of our children's services and our community adult services. Great start, absolutely loads to do. Promise 2 started very slowly, but in 2025, Steve Forsyth is launching our staff carers network. That's only a little part of Promise 2, but it's a really important part. Look on the screen now at the range of volunteer roles that are going to come with Promise 3. These come from teams across the organisation, and you can see the volunteer gardeners, volunteer drivers, people to help folk in different settings make sense of what we do when we provide care are leading the way. If we're going to get to 350 volunteers next year, we're going to have to learn from our Aspire colleagues, learn from our breastfeeding colleagues, learn from friends in the hospice, and really gear up. What else is gearing up is care opinion. 300 staff now trained to be responders to this online tool, and in 2025, that will bring the voices and the feedback of our patients into all of the decision-making bodies of our organisation, in a way we've never done before. And when those voices arrive in those bodies, there will be patients already in those committees and those board meetings, which is all the Promise 5 is about. We're going to have a fully staffed Council of Governors, both staff with the elections and patients, pet carers and communities. I think we've made a great start with this group of promises. Where do we go next? Well, the biggest group of promises is all about health inequalities. We've got our poverty-proofing pilots that have got started. There's some real tangible change there. I spoke a couple of weeks ago about Core 20+5 with the work that Bola Olwalabi asked us to do. The work we've set out to do is around our R-5. You can see on the screen some of the things that are happening as a result of that. Do you know what? We're going to spend over £800,000 on meeting the apprenticeship levy, and every Band 2 and 3 role currently being advertised in our trust now comes, I was going to say, with a mandatory apprenticeship. That makes it sound a bit unpleasant, doesn't it? It's not. It's a joy and a value to develop somebody's career. I get the impression the Chancellor may lean into some of that narrative in the budget at the end of October. So there's Ardash leading the way. Our work at Promise 10, 11 and 12, there's plenty going on. Vicky Clare's work on morality, the work that Steph and Dave and others are leading in the veterans community, and work myself and others have begun to do around homelessness, and of course the work Catherine Bebb's been doing with Gypsy Roma traveller communities. But you can imagine in the start of 2025, we will be scaling up a little more. That takes us, if you're keeping up, to Promise 13. And Promise 13 was always the cover star promise of the strategy, because that's right, Mavis was on the front cover with virtual ward, over 1,000 patients now and going great guns, and we're looking to make virtual ward part of step up, not just step out and step down from hospital, with the development of our community geriatrician team in the future. Promise 14 is all about reducing waiting times to the improbable but remarkably important 4-week wait measure in 18 months' time. Here's the graph of what we've got to do. I'm feeling quite encouraged by the progress that we are making. We really do now understand the data and the information that we will need in order to target resource and support where it's most needed across our organisation. Bit less progress in integrated neighbourhood teams now explained on the screen. There's some partnership interdependencies we got to work through, but there are some real green shoots in areas like South Scunthorpe, where we're trying to get this work off the ground. The outcome work was always going to be a slow burn. That's Promise 16. Talking Therapies leading the way. There's a nationally mandated set of outcomes. What we'll be looking to do over the next 18 months is make sure that each service has that kind of outcome measure in the way that we work. And again, I'll take a wild guess that next year, with the 10-year plan for the NHS, that sort of Ardash mentality may go a little bit wider. Can't get across enough how important it is to tackling health inequalities, to changing school readiness, which is Promise 17. I have never had so many toilet training conversations with clinical staff as I've had over the last few weeks, and I'm looking forward to the presentation in a couple of weeks' time from Roberta and the team about the plans that Children's Services have developed. Now then, there's not a set of pictures associated with Promise 18 through Promise 23, and those are our promises that are predominantly about changing the inpatient experience of care. That isn't because those things have been put on the back burner. Kath and I spoke at the last board meeting and spoke in a video from the last board meeting about the work that is imagined for 2025 in that space. In a few weeks' time, we'll invest in the assertive outreach team in Doncaster and close Emerald, as we did successfully Goldcrest last year. So there's a lot going on, but I think that's a whole video all in itself. We'll get back to you on that over the next month. The Trust continues to succeed in external appraisal about our educational offer. But I know we've got work to do to make sure that that big training budget that we've created is available equitably and purposively across our organisation. Carleen Holden and Jude Graham are leading that work on behalf of the board. We are determined to implement the real living wage in the next financial year, and Lynn and Izaz have been leading work too to change who we buy services from, to make those services locally sourced and put our money back into the local health economy, local care economy, local economy generally, wherever we can. It's taken some time to get our anti-racism plan to where it needed to be, but that time's been well spent with brilliant engagement from colleagues in the REACH network, people within the Anti-Racism Alliance, and many people across our organisation. The board agreed its 7-point plan a few weeks ago, and that now becomes mainstream business in this organisation. We'll be back in March 2025 to look at other areas of discrimination and make sure that we are moving forward on all fronts. That's Promise 26. Promise 27 has a gas problem. I don't right now know exactly how we are going to hit this promise and how we balance the money we will need to spend with the changes we will need to make. But as we develop our estate plan in the early part of 2025, we will have to solve that puzzle. I don't think we'll be putting carbon capture under the Tick Hill site. So if you hear that rumour, it wasn't me that started it. Let me end with our research promise at Promise 28. This has always been about going from good to great. There's some incredibly exciting research projects and programs that Heather and the team are bringing into our organisation. But it's really important that research is diffused across this organisation. So as we are advertising new roles, as we are developing advanced clinical practice and consultant roles in all disciplines, there will increasingly be that expectation of research participation. That could be qualitative and reflective practice, not simply quantitative RCT trials or drug-based studies. There's real possibility to make Irish even more of a research hub and make that part of the USP of this organisation. Now, I've got no idea how long that took to say or how long it's taken you to listen, but I hope there's a bit of a record there at half year that not only have we absolutely stormed it on the flu vaccine, but we are making progress in many of our promises. Take a minute to reflect, and if you've still got time, have a look at this advertorial for World Menopause Day on the 18th of October. I'll see you next week.